evening, and welcome to this meeting of Westminster Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Take a moment now to silence any cell phones or other devices you might have with you that might disturb the meeting. Thank you very much. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website. And I believe that there are some hard copies here in front of the room of just the agenda. The first item of business tonight is a public hearing. Public hearings in Westminster are conducted by the mayor. I will turn the chair over to Mayor Becker.
Thank you very much, Council President McNamara. This public hearing has been properly published in the Carroll County Times on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, meeting all applicable requirements. Public hearing regarding the proposed issuance by the city pursuant to the Maryland Economic Development Revenue Bond Act, the Act of one or more series of revenue bonds in an original aggregate principal amount not to exceed $92 million. And the loan of the proceeds of any such bonds to the Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant Incorporated, LVMG, for the purpose of financing costs of 1, the acquisition and improvement by LVMG of various capital projects at its retirement community campus in Ellicott City, Maryland, and or 2, reserves, working capital, costs of issuance, and other costs permitted by the Act. Anyone like to speak on the public hearing? Seeing that no one would like to speak, close the public hearing at 7:02 p.m.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. Move on now. The rest of the agenda. First, let me just say that a couple of years ago, when Dr. Julia Jaskin was inaugurated as president of McDaniel College, one of the things that she promised as the start of a wonderful new relationship with the city was that she would try to have a senior member of her staff present at as many meetings as possible to share news what's happening on the Hill. And it's been a pleasure to have that happen over the last couple of years. We're especially pleased tonight to have Aaron Benevento, the chief of staff to the president here. And I believe you've got some really big news to share with us today. So we're looking forward to hearing more about that. So welcome to the meeting.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Earlier today, McDaniel announced publicly a new revitalized program called Carroll County Scholars. And please bear with me so I don't get any of this wrong. Carroll County Scholars is a brand new program for 8th and 10th grade students in Carroll County. So middle and high school students that could be in public, private, homeschool, doesn't matter, just a student in Carroll County, for them and their families to learn more about the college application process, through different educational sessions, info sessions, workshops, essentially just giving a deeper look into what it is like to apply to college and go through financial aid applications and scholarships, to really give students just an upper hand on that process. And so You don't have any commitment to attend McDaniel, but if you decide to attend McDaniel after going through this program, you're eligible for some of our scholarships, at least $100,000, but up to a full ride at McDaniel. So I have left some of our papers here. I can certainly try to take any questions if that's allowed, but the best people to help are listed on here to follow up with this new initiative. So it is no cost to participate, and the application to register is open, but the process really starts with some info sessions and getting our cohort started in 2024. So we are very excited and just grateful for continued good opportunities between McDaniel and Carroll County residents. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you for coming. I have to say that when I was in school, $100,000 would have been more than a full ride. But I know that the time we live in now. Yeah, right. But seriously, this is a wonderful thing, and I think it puts Carroll County, in a position very different from any of the surrounding counties. I don't think any other neighboring county has a college like McDaniel College that is willing to step up and do a program like this. So this is really a wonderful thing for us here. We're very excited about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Jaskin, we're looking forward to seeing her.
Likewise. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Anybody have anything from Ms. Benedict? Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on now to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the meeting of the Mayor and Common Council on October 23rd and meeting minutes from the work session of the same date. I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
The motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Kavachi. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, the minutes are approved. We have two items on the consent calendar. May I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, Mr. President.
There's been a motion by Mr. Hoff. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. Consent calendar is approved. What's from the mayor, Dr. Becker?
Right, thank you, Council President Pecoraro. Just to follow up on Ms. Benedito's comments about the program that McDaniel has launched, I think one of the reasons that I'm really excited about this is McDaniel is one of our very important partners within the city of Westminster, and especially for downtown. And I know that we've worked really hard over the past 2.5 years at building on the prior relationship that McDaniel and the city of Westminster has had, but also growing that relationship, I think, pretty substantially, which has resulted, I think, positive growth for both of our organizations. So I'm excited to see this growth and opportunity for McDaniel growth, and this goes along with their new nursing program as well that will be kicking off pretty soon. So it's been very quiet. It's been a little quiet since our last meeting. As we transition from autumn into some of the cooler temperatures of winter, I think the city looks amazing with the lights back on the trees for the holiday season. I know all the departments are planning ahead for the many city events that will be taking place in just the next few weeks. We will have our Christmas music playing soon, and of course our Miracle on Main Street Parade, which will be the Saturday after Thanksgiving. This coming Saturday is the last Saturday for the downtown Westminster Farmers Market. This is one of the longest running farmers markets in Westminster. It's the last one to close at the end of the season. I think Mr. Depot is crossing off things of his report that I'm saying right now, so I'm sorry for that. I also want to say thank you to Brooke Haggerty for being an amazing market manager over the last several years. She has done a phenomenal job. I know when I first moved here 20 years ago, the market was very, very small. And just the growth that the market has experienced over the last several years has been phenomenal. So if you can try to stop in this last Saturday, it's a little late in the city for vegetables, but there will still be some. And then you can always buy Christmas gifts and holiday gifts at the downtown market. The small business passport, this might be on your report as well, I don't know, is in full swing. So this year, the small business passport goes till December 12th. If you're unfamiliar with that, this is a passport that you can use in downtowns in Carroll County and have it stamped. Westminster alone has 70 businesses taking part in the passport program. I don't know if that's a record, but it seems to be a one of the highest number of businesses in downtown that are participating in that. You can drop off the completed passport at a Carroll County library or at a town hall by December 12th, and you will be entered in one of 20 drawings for a $50 certificate that you can use at any of the participating businesses. As always, I know this sounds a little bit like a broken record, but it is important. Continue to urge residents and non-residents who are in the Westminster water and sewer system to please conserve water. While this winter looks promising with some snowfall, we are still way behind in our rainfall to date across the state in Carroll County and within the city of Westminster. And there is not a lot of immediate relief in the forecast. It's in and out in the next week. So in this mailing that has been sent out with the water bills, the city has included some water conservation tips in there. And you can also visit the city website for some other conservation tips. And then finally, as we approach the holiday next week for Thanksgiving, I just wanted to mention that I'm incredibly thankful to serve as mayor of such a dynamic city alongside individuals dedicated to public service. I'm thankful for every single one of our staff members, and I know that even though I may not interact with all of you on a day-to-day basis, I'm thankful that you have chosen to work for our awesome city, and I would ask department heads to please forward my thanks to their staff after the meeting this evening. I also want to say I'm thankful for all the residents in Westminster who make Westminster a really great place to live, work, and play, and a place to enjoy vibrant downtown events and activities. And I hope everyone within the city and beyond has a wonderful Thanksgiving week next week. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Becker. Move on now to reports from our committees. We give them our liaison, the Carroll County Arts Council Board of Trustees, Mr. Dale.
Thank you, Mr. President. We spent much of the afternoon this afternoon working on the strategic plan for the Carroll Arts Center. It's coming along well. It's an awful lot of work, and we're looking forward to a really vibrant 3-year plan to submit to the Maryland State Arts Council. That's all my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dale. For our Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hall.
No report this time, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hoff. For the Finance Committee, I will just say we've got an item later on the agenda, and I know that Ms. Rogers has a few things to mention later on her Finance Department. I will leave that to her. I also have nothing for the Personnel Committee. Apparently, we've been pretty well behaved these days. Public Safety Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Westminster Police Department will partner with the Carroll County Sheriff's Office to begin extra holiday patrols on December 1st. These evening details will include high visibility patrols in shopping areas to bolster shopper safety and to deter crime such as shoplifting. Patrols will also focus on driving while intoxicated while impaired enforcement. Patrols will continue until after the holiday season. Police department's also investigating, police detectives are investigating a regional series of vehicle thefts far beyond Westminster. But unfortunately, that does include a couple of stolen vehicles from within the city as well. Detectives are collaborating with our neighboring jurisdictions. Some of the incidents, I would say maybe even more than some of the incidents, are crimes of opportunity where there are car doors left unlocked and keys actually in the car, and then they get in and steal the car. Citizens are reminded to lock their vehicles and to keep the valuables out of sight. Leave your porch lights on overnight can be a deterrent. Report suspicious persons and activities immediately to the police. That's important. I can't tell you how many people have called me about an incident. I ask them if they've reported it to the police, and they say, "No, I'm calling you." I'm like, "Well, I'm not the cop anymore, so you need to call the actual real police." And then also the police department is investigating some destruction of property incidents that they believe might be one suspect targeting some closed office buildings overnight. Chief, you might have more information. I know this is a couple days old. So citizens are asked if they have any information related to that, please contact the Westminster Police Department. And then lastly, we do still have 5 recruits in the police academy, and they're doing well. And we expect them to graduate in early spring, which will be fantastic. That's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kavachi. Public Works, Ms. Gilbert.
The Public Works Department is preparing for the Miracle Main event that will take place on November 25th. They're also, you probably have noticed them in downtown Westminster putting up the city holiday decorations. The holiday lights on Main Street are being installed and will extend up to Center Street this year. So we extended it, I believe, a block from what it was last year. Is that correct? Yeah.
Along with the second.
Yeah.
Along with all.
And the Main Street Water Main project is now about 10% done. It is on schedule, and phase 2 is scheduled to be completed by the end of November. And that's all for that
Right.
report.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert, and we return to you again for the recreation department.
And this one's gonna be a little lengthier. On Thursday, November 9th, the first public art installation at Wakefield was completed by sculptor Tom Sterner. Some of you may have noticed the article in the Carroll County Times, for those that still actually receive that newspaper. Entitled Raven Tree, this impressive statue located on the site of the former driving range can be found proudly watching over Wakefield Valley Park. A springtime celebration and ribbon cutting for the Raven Tree will be planned for the warmer months of 2024. So look forward to that occurring. On Saturday, November 11th and Sunday, November 12th, the Recreation and Parks Department hosted the first Veterans Pickleball Classic Tournament. This indoor tournament was held at Bill Dinkers and hosted 314 players. Bikers for a Cause and the Lost Mountain Group provided over 30 volunteers for the 24 hours that the tournament operated. In exchange for their volunteerism, a portion of the proceeds from the tournament went to the Lost Mountain Group. Lost Mountain Group is one of the only organizations in the Mid-Atlantic region rescuing retired military working dogs and placing them with veterans at no cost to the veteran. Since the group's inception, the Lost Mountain Group has paired over 34 canine companions with veterans. And with each pairing, they save 2 lives, the rescued dog and the veteran. A highlight of the weekend, 3 veterans visited the tournament with their dogs. We thank the retired military working dogs, Toby, Ray, and Max, for their gentle presence at the tournament and for allowing many of the players and spectators the opportunities to learn their stories, share pets, hugs, and really cute belly rubs. And I myself participated in the tournament, of which I left very early because I didn't win anything except just the experience. On Saturday, November 11th, the Recreation Parks Department assisted with the Westminster American Legion's Veterans Day program. The ceremony was a wonderful tribute to our veterans. Guest speakers were Councilman Dayhoff and Lieutenant Colonel Seth Hartman, who provided moving remarks that made it for a very special program, and about 60 people attended that event. Tomorrow marks the completion of phase 2 of the pool renovations. The last progress meeting will be scheduled for 8:30 a.m., where the staff will be trained on the proper winterization techniques for the splash pad, lagoon, and learning pool, and probably wearing winter wear while you're doing that. Lastly, staff are busy preparing for the brightest night in Westminster. Miracle on Main Street preparations are in full swing. We look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday, November 25th for the 1 mile Jingle Bell Run, a spectacular parade, caroling, tree lighting at Locust Lane, and Santa's Treat at the Westminster Family Fitness Center. And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much. Finally, Technology Committee, Mr. Dayhoff.
Your report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Now it's time for council comments and discussion. This is the opportunity for council members to share their thoughts or any information they have on other issues in the city that are not elsewhere on the agenda tonight. Mr. Kavachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. Just 2 quick things. One, to echo the mayor's comments relative to being thankful. I'm not going to repeat everything she said, but ditto. And then number 2, just like to compliment staff again on the lighting of Main Street. It as soon as that happens, that we get more positive feedback related to that than I think almost anything else we do in the city. So it looks really great. Thanks again for making it happen and coming up with the idea in the first place. I wish Sarah was here because I know she played a role in that, but it's wonderful, and we get a lot of positive feedback as elected officials relative to that. So thanks. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Crosby. Mr. Hillhop.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I'm thankful to also to serve with such a wonderful group of elected officials and staff. And I particularly appreciated the folks over at the Family Center who helped us out with a well-attended Veterans Day ceremony. And I really appreciated that. Thank you, Mr. President. That'll be all.
Thank you. Ms. Gilbert.
I will just say ditto to all the remarks regarding our staff and being thankful for an amazing group of employees. Outside of that, I have no other comment.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Pop.
I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Right. Very nice. I'll extend my Thanksgiving wishes and thanks as well. And also just want to mention, while we're talking about thanks, on behalf of the mayor and the rest of the group, I had the opportunity last Friday to attend an event hosted by EGE, where they were doing their employee awards for the year, and they invited the city of Westminster to attend because, as we all know, back in July we had that terrible storm that took the power lines down in such a strange way, parallel poles along 140, and trapped 34 people in their cars for several hours, and it was an amazing thing. Nobody was hurt, and as Governor Moore said the next morning when he visited us, everybody went home and slept in the beds that night. So it was a remarkable thing. They wanted to have us there to talk about the most memorable moments from the year, which certainly was for us, and I gather it was for them as well. It was interesting. I presented a proclamation on behalf of the city, which I was pleased to be able to do, but also I got to meet the gentleman who is the local BGE employee who happened to be at the Shoppers food store there, who was walking out to his car picking up some groceries, and he saw the lines coming down, poles coming down, and he ran, got all of his protective gear on with the helmet so people knew he worked for BGE, and got out there in the middle of the intersection and made sure everybody stayed in their cars and didn't touch anything metal that was going to leave them being electrocuted, creating a connection with the ground. Really remarkable that he was on the spot and able to get out there so quickly. And probably the reason nobody was hurt was a lot to do with that. So it was nice to meet him and thank him personally on behalf of the city as well. So it was a pretty cool event to get to go to. It was at M&T Stadium, so a rainy day, didn't really get to go and see much run the field or anything, but it was cool to be there. Anyway, that was it. Move on now to ordinances and resolution. We have one item this evening, adoption of resolution 23-11, authorizing the city to issue revenue bonds in one or more series in the original aggregate principal amount not to exceed $92 million, and to loan the proceeds thereof to the Lutheran Village and Village Grant Incorporated for the purpose of financing costs and undertaking certain capital projects for its retirement community campus in Ellicott City, Maryland, and or paying other costs and expenses permitted by the Maryland Economic Development Revenue Bond Act. We have with us this evening, or we're fortunate to have with us this evening, Maryland's expert on the law and dealing with financings, and we always turn to Lindsay Rader for these events. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's so nice to be before all of you again. So the reason we had that public hearing earlier this evening is it's known as a TEPRA hearing, and it's something that the federal tax code requires us to hold anytime the city is contemplating issuing tax-exempt bonds and loaning the proceeds to a 501c3 entity. In this case, the Lutheran Village and Miller's Grant, Inc. And the bonds you're being asked to authorize this evening would be issued pursuant to the Maryland Economic Development Revenue Bond Act, which does not require that any facilities financed from those bond proceeds actually be located within the corporate boundaries of the issuer. In fact, they just need to be Maryland. They don't even specify that they have to be within Maryland, but they have to serve various legislative purposes within the state of Maryland, such as promoting the health, safety, and welfare of citizens of the state, promoting economic development. And the reason that, and I'm going to abbreviate it as LVMG, came to the city and is asking the city to issue these bonds rather than Howard County is because there is actually what we like to refer to as a nexus with the city of Westminster. And that is because Lutheran Social Ministries of Maryland, Inc., which is the parent company of LVMG, is actually located within the corporate boundaries of Westminster. And it provides a range of services to LVMG and its sister company, Carroll Lutheran Village, Inc., which is also located within the corporate boundaries of the city. And actually, some of you were here in 2014 when the city issued what we refer to as new money and refunding conduit revenue bonds, and the city loaned the proceeds to LVMG. The resolution now is for new money purposes only, and it's to expand various facilities on the campus in Ellicott City, including adding additional independent living units, skilled nursing units, assisted living units, and memory care units, and also relocating certain units, as well as constructing a performing arts center and a new dining venue, and undertaking additional improvements throughout the campus that are related to those expansion activities. And the resolution before you makes it very clear that any bonds issued will not be backed by the full faith and credit and unlimited taxing power of the city. Only LVMG is responsible for paying the debt service on the bonds. And in fact, any bonds issued will be issued pursuant to various documents in which part of my role is to make sure that the city's limitation of liability is very clear and that LVMG properly indemnifies the city. The resolution recognizes that the city is not responsible for any costs in connection with the proposed transaction. And in fact, LVMG is required to pay the costs of any of the city's professionals, whether or not any bonds are ever issued. And in accordance with the act, LVMG delivered what's referred to as a letter of intent, and that is Exhibit A to the resolution. Also in accordance with the act, the resolution delegates to the mayor by executive order or otherwise the authority to determine certain details of any financing documents or the issuance of the bonds. And these days, from the pandemic and other circumstances we've seen in the last couple of years, we usually have some general language about, well, if there's an official who's referred to by one title and that official is not available, another official can act in their stead. We actually built in sort of the line of authority in this resolution. I found over the last couple of years when I do that I've actually had to take advantage of that from time to time, just for unusual circumstances. But with us here tonight are several representatives of Lutheran Social Ministries, or LVMG, and they are here and available to answer any questions you may have. Ken Connolly is the VP of Operations, and he's joined by Monica Sloan, who, Controller, is that right? Controller. And Adam Arcadia, who is a risk analyst, correct? And then Brady Richardson from HJ Sims, which is serving as financial advisor to LVMG for the proposed bonds, is also here. And I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have about the resolution. And you can address any questions to them as well.
Very good. Thank you very much, Ms. Rader, for that. Now we've all been to law school.
I always feel smarter every time.
Yes, we do.
You're very kind.
Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Rader or for any of the folks from Lutheran? Good.
Can I make a statement?
Certainly.
I just want to say thank you for being here. I know earlier when I mentioned about McDaniel being one of our very important partners in the city, Carroll Lutheran Village's Lutheran Service Ministries definitely also, I think, are one of our most important partners within the city. And I know that I'm happy that we're able to do this for you. So thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing no further discussion, soon ready for the vote.
I think we need to make a motion.
Oh, yes, I do. May I have a motion on adoption of resolution 23-11?
I will make a motion for adoption of resolution 23.
Thank you. Second by Mr. Nayhoff. Any further, Mr.
Yeah, Mr. President, as I have in the previous votes related to these bond issuance with then LVMG and Carroll Village. Unfortunately, because I love them, I do have to abstain. I do regular, consistent business with them almost on a daily basis with all three organizations. So I think it appropriate that I do abstain from this vote.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mackey. Anyone else? All right, hearing no further discussion or comments, move on to a vote. All those in favor of adoption of resolution 23-11, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it, and resolution is adopted. Thank you. And good luck to you. Look forward to a great project. Next item on the agenda is unfinished business. There is no unfinished business of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. There is no new business on the agenda. Does anybody have any new business to bring? Hearing. Hey, you folks can leave.
I'm gonna stick around.
We're almost done, but you're. Departmental reports. We'll turn to Mr. D. Ms. Zimholz is listening to us, virtually, but she couldn't be present tonight. So we have Mr. Depot here who's going to get into the department reports.
Thank you. I'm going to start with the fire department and Councilmember Bayhoff.
No report.
Thank you. Let's move on to finance as well as human resources and Director Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Depot, and thank you, Mr. President and Council. From the HR department, I wanted to share with you that we have several open positions that are posted on the website. Please don't let the holidays deter you from applying. We're still actively recruiting for positions. Please visit westminstermd.gov/jobs for a listing of those positions. From the finance department, I'm pleased to share with you that our new auditors, SB and Company, started field work for our fiscal 2023 audit today. I do anticipate that they'll be on site for the full week. I think I shared with you before that they were on site back around middle of October, to work on our single audit testing, which is primarily for housing and ARPA funds. So I will update you as the audit progresses. And that's the end of my report. I'm happy to take questions.
I have one quick question. So how many people do they send to work with you guys this week?
So they have 2 auditors on site for the full week, and then there is a manager that is coming in periodically to check on the team. And of course, that person's always available for them. And I'm hoping to see one of the principal partners to be there at some point this week as well. And he's been out to see us twice previously to get set up for the audit.
I'm sure it's a lot of work for you too, so good luck.
It is really for the whole team. It's a joint effort, so thank you to my staff.
We appreciate it.
Glad we started in a timely fashion this year.
Yes, we are too.
So to move this along in the same way.
Any other questions for Ms. Rogers? None. Let's move on to the police department and Chief Budwell.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. To build upon what Councilman Kabachi was talking about earlier, we have had a couple of incidents of both auto theft and thefts from auto. It is a greater Baltimore regional issue. We were briefed by Maryland State Police Fusion Center, and the uptick in the state of Maryland over last year in the number of both of these things has unfortunately skyrocketed. So what we're doing is addressing it from 2 perspectives. One, we want to make the most uncomfortable or deterrent for these groups coming into the Westminster area. We're collaborating with the other regional law enforcement agencies, Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Maryland State Police, Sykesville Police Department, Baltimore County Police. We've got some good investigative leads on the couple incidents we have had, and have good news on that in the future. But also, as brought up earlier, how the citizens can help us out is that many of these are crimes of opportunity. Some have not been, but most of them are. So things that we can all do are to keep our vehicles locked, to keep valuables out of sight or out of the vehicles when we go inside, keep the lights on, and call right away, even if you feel it's just suspicious activity. That can't hurt and may prevent these from happening. So we also had, as was also mentioned, we believe it's one individual who has breached a couple doors on business on Main Street. We're not sure what the motive is. We haven't had anything stolen, but the same thing that we're just asking anybody who might witness these have occurred around between 9:30 p.m. and I believe 10 o'clock. So any suspicious activity seen around that time, please call either 911 or the police department's non-emergency number right away so we can get a jump on that. We're hosting at least one McDaniel College intern for the spring semester and possibly one for the winter break semester also. We don't like to usually bring on interns unless we really have something meaningful for them to work on. So we've interviewed and believe the intern has a really good skill set that would fit nicely with the project. And then we'll in turn introduce the intern to some of the inner workings of the police department. So we're looking forward to that. We currently have one dispatcher opening and we are currently interviewing applicants for this open position. And that's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Any questions for the chief?
Chief, can you share what project the intern is working on or not yet?
Well, it's actually a mishmash of several projects, but this particular intern has really good social media skills. So we're looking at building upon our outreach and capitalizing on maybe a younger demographic's ability to help us in certain areas. So that's one of the things. He also has some other good skill sets that I think will help within our CIB.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Sure.
So apparently, I guess it's not just the Baltimore region, but DC has an enormous auto theft problem as well. I read it was up 96% this year, which is just an astronomical number. Apparently, they tried to break into Joe Biden's granddaughter's car last night. And yeah, Secret Service got to around at him actually. Yeah, yeah. But not just so it's not just here.
Anyone else? Thank you. Let's move on to housing services and Director Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to report on a bit of good news. We got the latter part of last month. The Department of Housing and Urban Development regularly evaluate the performance of each housing authority or housing agency. And they categorize them in 3 different areas. One is they'll rate you as a standard performer, a trouble performer, or a high performer. And we are rated as a high performer as of 6/30 of this year, the end of our fiscal year. And I just want to publicly commend our staff for the work that they did to make that possible. I also want to thank the mayor and council for your support of all of the employees, including our staff. So thank you for all that you do every day, and thank you for the support you provided. It means a lot. That's my report.
Congratulations on this turnaround.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Brown? Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's move on to information technology and Director Moore.
I'll keep it short tonight. In addition to the normal stuff we're working on, help with some events and things like that, we're currently halfway through our cybersecurity audit as mandated by the state for the water treatment plant. So we're getting the report read up on that here shortly and go over that with management and get ready to submit that soon. So we'll go through questions if you have.
Any questions for Mr. Moore? Thank you. Let's move on to Public Works and Director Dick.
Thank you, Director Depot. Good evening, everybody. I'll keep it short as well. One thing I would like to highlight is we had a joint effort between the utility department and the street department Especially if you get any questions about what all the lines across the city park are. We put conduit underground and ran electric throughout the park to strategic points for different events that we have in the park.
We have events in the park.
Yeah, that way we don't have to drag a gen set down or light towers and things like that. So that's happened in the past 2 weeks in between little job here and there. We got in there and got that taken care of. So that'll be a big help for everybody. Water main project, as mentioned, probably creeping closer to 15% now. They charged the line today. We'll do chlorination test in a couple of days. As long as that clears, they'll start transferring services over. So I'll definitely be contacting everybody on that as well. And I'll just keep it short with that, unless there's any questions on it.
I do have a question, Mr. Dick. The tree lighting is going because when I was driving, I think just the other night, is it going all the way to center? Because it looked like it was 1 block short.
So I haven't got the full reading on why they disappear for a couple of days and come back. I don't know what's going on there, but it is supposed to go all the way to Center Street. There's still now I think I counted 7 trees left.
Yeah. Okay.
The trees up there are a lot bigger, and I noticed today when I went by there was a guy about 40 feet up in the one hanging by his hands. One, so
It's coming.
It's coming.
Okay, I just wanted to
They'll be
be
done
clear.
before, but it's numbers big part.
yes, yes, that's on my list of finding out why it's not done yet.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem. Thank you.
Any other questions from Mr. Dick? Okay, thank you. Moving on to Recreation and Parks and Director Gruber.
Thank you, Mr. Debo. Good evening. I'll keep it short as well. Councilmember Gilbert covered a lot of what's going on in the Recreation and Parks Department right now. I do want to thank the Streets Department, the trenching and pulling of wires through conduit in the park will definitely make things easier. First and foremost for our holiday light show that we will do in the park again this year. So we'll be busily transforming City Park into a winter wonderland of lights over the next couple of weeks so that residents and visitors can wander through City Park and enjoy the magic that will be happening there and happening easier now that we have electric in all spots. I also want to thank the IT department for their recent efforts on behalf of the Recreation and Parks Department. They did a Herculean job overseeing the camera installation, which has really helped us with a couple of recent incidents in the fitness center. We were able to go back and watch footage and figure out what happened. We had a busted out window and we're able to see that happen on the footage and some other things that have occurred. So definitely appreciate the oversight and the speediness of that project. Additionally, I appreciate the loaning of the technology equipment for the pickleball tournament this weekend. We use a fully hosted web-based application called Pickleball Brackets to manage our tournaments. And with that comes the need for laptops and printers and scanners that can be transported to the middle of the park for the case of pickle in the park or in the middle of a 12-court pickleball facility at Dill Dinkers. So they are always able to provide these fulfill these requests and provide us with the equipment that we need to be successful. And they even fielded some technology calls on Friday afternoon as we were attempting to get everything hooked up and tested out. So I just appreciate the really talented team of folks that I get to work with here at the city because they really make what the Recreation and Parks Department do very easy and very successful. And so thanks to all of you. And thank you to you, Council, for your continued support of our events and activities. I will be looking forward to seeing you at the Brightest Night on Main Street, Miracle on Main Street, on November 25th. So it's going to be great. We have over 65 parade entries right now, which is a record high parade entries for us. So that's
2 hours.
That's my favorite parade. Very excited.
Thank you, Ms. Gruber. Any questions from Ms. Gruber? Yeah, okay, and finally, Community Planning and Development, on November 7th, the Board of Zoning Appeals reopened the case 2303. This was a special exception request to add a home occupation use for online sales of firearms and transfer services at 231 Stacy Lee Drive, Westminster. Ultimately, the Board of Zoning Appeals denied the request. On November 8th, the Historic District Commission discussed its implementation plan and preparations for the nation's 250th anniversary. I'd like to thank Director Gerber. She was able to meet with the Historic District Commission to talk about this as beginning steps of preparing. They also reviewed architectural elevations for a 4-unit multifamily dwelling use at 288 East Main Street and provided recommendations to the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding compliance with the 2016 Design Preferences standards for new development in the historic district. And on October 16th, the Planning Commission is tentatively scheduled to hear Ordinance 2310, approving local map amendment LMA 2301, designates 700 Corporate Center Court, Suite K and Suite L, located in the Planned Industrial Development Zone as a floating cannabis overlay zone for the establishment of a cannabis dispensary. And that completes my report, Mr. President. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Does anybody have any questions, Mr. Depot or any other department heads? Who knew Mr. Moore was a pickleball star? Thank you very much. The final item on our agenda is citizen comments, when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. But citizens not in the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor and council. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comment. We will now invite comments from anyone who is present. Ask anybody who's here tonight to make a comment to please seek recognition and give us your name and address for the clerk. Anybody would like to be heard? All right. Hearing no one, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. With that, without objection, we are adjourned.